Pod. Pod. How's it going?
All right. I'm probably not. I'm quite an isolated chap. I haven't done anything like this for a while, so.
All right, fair play, mate. I appreciate you doing it.
You're welcome. It's good for me too, man.
Good stuff. Whereabouts are you?
I'm in Kent. Just outside Maidstone.
Okay, all right. I used to spend a bit of time in Kent watching Bromley play football.
Who?
Bromley.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not too good at sports down this in the Garden of England and not that cultivating stuff. I don't know. They're not. There's no big identity there, but
yeah, fair, yeah. But I was reading.
Yeah, what? Sorry.
I was reading that you were a pretty keen footballer when you were younger. Was it true you were on the books at Gillingham?
That's true. And I trained with Steve Bruce, who went on to be Manchester United captain. I was a really small child. I didn't grow till I was 15, so I got knocked around a bit and was drinking a bit too much. And yeah, I turned up one morning for a match with a black eye, and I'd just sort of been out all night. And he said, "This ain't how it all works." And I was like, "Oh, do you know what?" Went back down the pub. I was into my music, man. I'd lost interest, to tell you the truth. And getting knocked about on a cold pitch, and practicing music with your mates and having those sort of dreams, it all was going in one direction. Oh, well, a friend of mine made me laugh later when we were in our guitarist Terry. He was like, "Yeah, like when we left school, it was you have three choices, like astronaut, building site, or music." And astronauts out of the question, and there's no choice between the other two. Something like that, It was, back in the day, I loved the World Cup. That was wonderful. I was just sort of getting better at the time, so I'd had I've been out in Thailand for a while, and I came back and I wasn't too well, and the World Cup came on, and sort of what I'm leading to saying is I'm going into the studio this time soon for the first time for a long time, and feeling excited about it, even talking about it. It's nice, man. I don't know. I've been spending a lot. I'm having a lot of clean time and sober time recently, and I think it's had a really good effect on my life. However many large chunks of sobriety and cleanliness you can fit into your existence, when you've had the kind of experiences that people that listen to this program probably know about, and so yeah, and that's the only way for me at the moment. So.
Yeah, nice one, mate. Good to hear it. Like, we had Patrick Walden on, obviously, he said he had a bit of like a turning point where he knew he had to change something. Was that similar for you?
No, because it's been going on for such a long time. Meeting Natalie Coolan was a big deal for me. It's a bit of a changer, and I've been really trying to put it together ever since then. Not so much that something had to change, but it wasn't only that. It was I've always had the willpower to make a choice. I don't know. I think I had a big chip on my shoulder for a long time, and I wanted to prove something. And a couple of people sat me down not long ago and said, "Pete, you don't have to prove anything, man." Because I've always felt just a bit on the side, outside of things, looking in, that sort of feeling. And tried to channel it into, songwriting, obviously, and make something well out of it, and enjoying what the place I had in the music business, and not bemoaning it. And inside, I was tangled. I suppose that's why I couldn't quite get it right. Well, I'm still in there. I'm still in there with a shout, man. Well, do you know what? It's just there's so much good music around at the moment, and I feel like I've got something in me, and just to do it for myself and team up with Julian again, that I've known since I was 11, and it's just a great meeting between us always, man. He's up in Liverpool, and we've got a studio there. He's concerned for me all the time, and I was able to call him at the end of this year and say, "Do you know what, I'm sober and clean." He said, "Yeah, me too. I've just done a master's in music technology and production, and I've got some good stuff. Let's get together." I'm like, yeah, I'm on the same page. So.
Nice one. Look forward to hearing it. Is it songs you've kind of had over the years, kind of thing?
There's a few of those, and some new ideas. It's at times good to go in with Drew, and he knows me, and also we've always had a good understanding of what each other likes, and he'll have something, and then we'll write it from there. Or like when we go in, and other times, like for Lovers, I went in and we did it in 5 minutes. I had it done and ready. It comes in different forms, but to be excited, and whereas I've gone out there in the past and not even been able to make it into the actual studio. I've just been in a hotel up the road and unable to get there, and it's just been awful. So yeah, and no, I love the music I hear. I listen to the radio, and and I don't know so many of their names, but there's a lot of good music, and so yeah, psyched.
Nice one, mate. Yeah, good stuff. So just taking it back a bit, like I said, I've been doing a bit of reading, and am I right in thinking you were a plumber after you sacked off the football dream?
Yeah, in some way, shape, or form. Ways. I worked for a company called R&B in Fulham Palace Road, and we had a contract with the council to service gas heaters all over West London. And they were really funny, these two characters. They're both gone now, God bless them. But they used to, I'd have my demos, I'd come in with them, and they just let me do what I did. I had a little van I used to go around in. Yeah, when I didn't go to university, so it was a case I had to earn money to support what I was doing. I remember buying my first Shure SM58 guitars and all that, getting about, and being in a band with other blokes that maybe were in university and they didn't have any money, so I was always more welcome for that. Yeah, supporting myself, man.
Yeah, good stuff. And then, like, I read you said you're inspired by George Michael to actually get into music, or is that not accurate?
Yeah. That guy was amazing. I saw it early on, and everyone used to, because my roots were in soul, like Marvin Gaye. My first album's Marvin Gaye, Michael Jackson. I'm talking Off the Wall, What's Going On, Donald Byrd, Norman Connors, all that sort of 70s black, and I was carried away. It was a different world to me there, but also, me and all my pals, it was time of punk, Rude Boy, Skinheads, it was all of them, and it was such a great time of music, and and really touched by something. One of my favourite bands from then I think Pete sent me a video. He goes, check this out, and it was Terry Hall singing for Lovers. It was a great moment for me, really, really great moment.
Oh, amazing. Was that in Coventry the other year, yeah?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, I mean, how great was he?
Well, yeah, it's all been said. But personally, just the soul, haunting sound of his music was fantastic, and the look, wow, everything. He was, like,
yeah.
Get it right. It's lovely to see it. It's lovely to see it in full flow, and stuff like that. And when you look back at specials now and the videos made, wow, it's when they tart them up and put them on TikTok or whatever, it's startling how it transcends time and because of what's around now, it just becomes instantly now, but it's something else as well. So it just seems that there's so much choice and so much these days. But it was lovely to hear him singing something that was in my heart, and the connection I'd had with him when I was at school. I was 13, 14. Amazing.
So at what point do you find yourself in a band with Brett Anderson?
I remember Brett being in the front room of Tim's little flat in Leighton in the East End. That's where Suede were out there as well. He had a fur jacket on and had his arms crossed like a queen, and we recorded this song. It was quite fun. Justin, our drummer, he was quite good. He went on to be in Elastica, but he went and joined Suede. But Brett came to a couple of gigs. I wasn't in the band with Brett, but he was a lovely fella. Really, and they were what a great band, and they really, killed it. They crashed it. They were like on. I remember them being on that big end of music TV show at the end of the NME Awards or something like that. It was exciting time for bands like that. I was working away at the times and playing up at the Unicorn up the Camden Road. But drinking far too much by then already. Anyway, that's another day. That's another subject. Maybe I don't. But I had a band called the Lemon Torpedoes. Then I then got. That was around the time I started to concentrate more on music, and then we got the Sex Gods, and then we played in the Marquee, and things that was in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, and that's where it sort of began, really. The guitarist was like ex-associates from one of the Sex Gang children, and we were pretty tight, pretty jazzy, but punk. In Camden, we used to play at the Dev every Friday, at Love Ranch, and Saturdays at Maximus and Leicester Square, a rave, but became Club UK, but we used to come on like 2 or 3 in the morning, like punk. It was insane. It was a good time, man.
Yeah. I mean, we talk a lot about, the scene in the noughties on the podcast, but it was a good scene in those early 90s as well.
Yeah. Lots of, speed, acid and ecstasy and parties, and sweet, man, really good. Garage, house, soul in Camden, lots of fun. Yeah. And it got like sort of, and I think that was a sort of time when Britpop was coming up.
Were you into that? Or?
I didn't. I was on the outside of it. I used to drink in all those pubs and see all those bands in Camden. But I was sort of underground. Yeah, we did the Marquee, but we do raves and Marquee. But it was then becoming around that scene when the Britpop scene was coming along. I think I was going in a Oh yeah, but yeah, I remember. I do remember what happened when that started happening. Do you want me to tell you?
Yeah, of course, mate. Yeah.
Um, well, yeah, the sex gods or sonic sex sometimes. We're sort of quite trendy crowd. I used to go to all the clubs in Ministry and say Love Ranch, and it got really. That's when it started to get quite heavy with the with drugs, and I was in quite a good relationship, which and quite a few friends I was really in getting on with. Then I remember it was like, there were a couple of dark characters, and I'm like, don't hang around, don't. This is true. Don't touch a particular drug. Don't touch heroin. We're done. We can't be dealing with that. Like, yeah, whatever. Fast forward, and so I ended up that band imploded. I fell out of that relationship and moved to Brighton and had some sort of crisis. I was only young, but I thought it was all over. And that was when Oasis were becoming really big. My pal's band had a big deal with my Julian's band had a big deal with Ireland. And around the time Oasis, they were a similar sort of thing, very Beatles, really tight, really all virtuoso, a great singer. They lost their record deal. Things, I don't know, things. And I was quiet for a long time. I was quiet for a long time in Brighton, thinking, I was like, could I be a poet? And I was walking along the front one night. No, that could never happen. Never. And on a night out in town, I met someone, and sparks began, and I began to pick myself up and start writing songs again, and it was the beginning of that journey when I bumped into Peter. So we were coming around to the. I had a couple of. I had a band called Shoshone and one called Metro. I managed to trash them both and was drinking really heavily and using and leading a hectic life. I published some poetry in Paris. They burnt the salon. I was getting out. It was becoming outrageous by then, and I think just before around the year 2000, there were some deaths as well. I had another sort of mini breakdown. I had a beautiful flat in Hampstead and used to drink in a flask every day. And it became something else for me. I sort of gave up on music, and I was still, I was still writing, and I had this lifestyle, and it was sort of self-supporting. God knows how, but it was, I didn't have time to do anything else other than what I was doing.
Was poetry always something you were taken with, kind of thing?
I was first really taken with it when I met a girl an Irish girl who knew some playwrights, and we became close. And they gave me the Marriage of Heaven and Hell by William Blake, and we talked, and they said, you know what, you really should look into this. And I did. Then I just began to roam everywhere on foot with my outfit and book and little plastic bag, hat, box leather jacket, whatever, roaming around, writing poetry, living that sort of Jim Morrison-esque existence, but without the sun, sand, and it was in North London, Finsbury Park, Camden. Yeah, man.
And I was watching kind of the mini documentary. Is it The Greatest Unknown Rock and Roll Star?
Sure. Yeah.
On YouTube. And Yeah, I mean, I've got to ask about this shotgun incident if you don't mind talking about it.
That was incredible. Yeah, I've always seemed to be. I always seem to attract trouble. I was with Julian and with his band, The Shoes, and I've been to this girl. Had been coming to the gigs. They had this 4-piece sort of band, and they did a lot of shows. And I'd go on and maybe sing a couple of numbers with them. But one of their gigs, I met this girl, and she came back, and I think something happened. And anyway, a week or so later, I started getting these phone calls, and from this bloke, friend of me, they went on for weeks. And I was just saying, "Well, fuck off!" Like, fuck off. You know, didn't think much of it. But there's a little. He was quite menacing, but you know, used to that sort of thing. But we were coming home from a gig one night, got back to Willesden, Deacon Road, where we lived, like a little, like Credibility Street, little place, all terrace, little flats. We had the first floor flat. Pulled the van up, unloaded the PA, and the staff got inside. Like, shut the door, went up, bang, bang, bang on the door. Like, what's that? And when they're like, who is it? He's like, yeah, it's so you cunt. It's Richard, you cunt. I'm like, what? I was like, oh, it's him. And he started trying to kick the door in. So I ran down, like pushed the PA against the door, came back up, leant out the window. In the meantime, he got in his car, pulled up, leant out the window with like a towel over something. I leaned out the window and let something went bang. All these like flames came up towards me, man. I hit the floor and the fucking windows came in, the ceiling came down. Fucking, I was like, whoa. Jumped up, saw this car speeding off, like checked him, got a bit of the on the plate, called the old Bill. They tailed him up to a building site. He lost them. He was on the run for a week before he like done in about 5 cops before they got him. So I was in high. But yeah, it was the funniest time. What was through that though? It was around fireworks night time, and I remember I was parked up somewhere. The cops were like, "You know, you've got to keep a watch out. He's about." I was like, "Yeah." I was feared a bit, you know. He said he was going to kill me and all that. So I've seen my mate, we'd had a few spliffs, and I've gone and sat in my little van, and I was just like, just about chucking it, and suddenly it was a really loud bang, like on the van. I was like, oh, this is it. It was such an outrageous bang, and I just sort of froze, and I sort of threw the door open, and I jumped out. There was nothing there, and I looked on the roof of the van, and there was a big fucking firework sitting on top of it, where it had gone up in the sky and come down and landed on the right and smack in the centre of the roof of my van. Yeah, it went to the Old Bailey. I walked in, it came out that the lawyer, he said, look, man, like, we don't want to go for attempted murder. He could end up doing a lot of time and have a grievance against you. I'm like, yeah, you're right. How about intent to, he was like, let's go for intent to endanger life of firearm. He gets a shorter sentence. Everyone's happy. Went for that. All went okay. I had to stand in the dark. It all went okay. I came out, walked into the pub across the road, and he was there mob-handed with his family, and there wasn't any trouble. And that's been sweet ever since. Funnily enough, a girl involved in that incident got in touch with me the other day.
Right.
Taking me back there, man. Yeah, that was when I was 17, 18. But that was the sort of people I grew up with as well, you know.
How does that change you as a person, if anything? Like,
I think it changed me. Yeah, became a bit more do or die with that. I've got one shot or something like that, and it wasn't long after that I crossed a line between being responsible at work and pursuing a career in music. And it's certainly, it wasn't my first song, but I wrote what I thought was my first significant song after that incident. Which I made a recording of, which I thought, and because songwriting has always been the thing rather than the genre of music. I have these songs in me. I've recorded songs in many different genres of music. At heart, I'm a soul boy, but I've done a lot of guitar music, punk, and that. But at heart, with me, it's the songs.
It's interesting, that thing, because it's this like narrative of comparing you to John Lennon. Like, what did you make of that?
That's him. It's not me. I know. That's the. We were talking about that, right? No, I had him. I'd finally. This is my true feeling about this. I felt at the time I didn't like the way I was sort of thought of or portrayed, but I was drinking a lot, and it was a case of been down so long, looks like up to me, and I didn't have any control over it. And he had this fascination with John Lennon. He ended up in Priory going mad about it. But it's not. It's on the premise of me, but it's about him. It's not about me. He took a few nice photos of me, and it's really comes down to where a lot of my career went wrong, or as far as I'm concerned. I wrote a song called Bohemian Trinket, where I'm quite sort of something missing somewhere with me, but I've always been very underground, and people would meet. I'd get these people fascinated, and I'd want to go sort of overground with it, but they'd like to want to keep it. No, they've never introduced me to this person or think I could do what I wanted. I'd be kept as this bohemian trinket, and you're my bohemian trinket. We were bohemians. I'd say in an idealistic sense, if that's the right word. But yeah, there was by then I was, my thought processes. I'd gone full into becoming an artist, writer, painter, or whatever that has become, and along rather than always or alongside a drinker and known for a drug taker. That was always the first thing with people with me. This was and it would stand in the way of a lot of. It would play a great part in a lot of my decision making. Without actually having the backup to make those decisions, I think it compromised me to a great extent. And I chose the comfort of drugs rather than putting myself out there. Maybe if I'd got the kind of access to service, don't get me wrong, I had a taste of it, but if I'd had full control over it, I'm pretty sure I would have killed myself. And I always felt God was holding that back from me a little, because it became very extreme with me. It became one of those things, about Pete. Oh, yeah, but he does all those. Oh, you can't deal with him, even though inside you're screaming, yeah, I can do it. I can do it. It was only when I gained control of my drinking, by becoming full on with heroin, that I could get any structure into my life.
Yeah, there's a lyric on Ice Cream Gorilla. And I first heard Pete Doherty say it, and I thought it summed it up quite well from an outsider's point of view. It said, when you say, I have a taste for the out of control. Is that kind of how you felt in those years?
Certainly, it's turned out that I have a really strong constitution, and it was a lot of fun. It was all good, healthy self-destruction. then as you know, it did become, money became involved, it became more successful, and along with that came more extreme situations, more extreme people, and a lot of our. It's nearly the time where I can say, I can say most. It's nearly coming to a time where nearly all of them are dead. There's ones that it's only really me and Pete. I think Mick, Pat. I mean, they all know their people. I can't really think that, and there's a lot. And God bless to respect people. And I was heavily in and around that, and it was around the time. The lights went out for a few years, and it wasn't funny anymore. And then I was, and I eventually ended up in prison, but just feeling terrible for the other people that have been affected. And even though the scene dissolved, then people start dropping afterwards, because they don't have the support. We all came apart and left on our own. I mean, I've had my struggles since that scene, for that group of friends together. We had some amazing times, but they can never last, and they didn't. And a lot of friends have died since, and a lot more will continue.
Yeah.
Rambled, don't I?
No, it's good, isn't it? It's a long form podcast. It's what it's all about. But yeah, going back to the 90s, like when you went to New York, just interested in that because you said you were quite quickly knocking around with some pretty big names in music.
I went with a girl called Brahmana. She was pretty incredible, really smart. We fought like cat and dog all the time and drank and took everything to excess. That was our thing. We took over quite a long time, but we went off to New York. I went and got a flat. I ended up with a couple of junkies on the low east side. I got a wicked flat. Is how it happened. Before it was all cleaned up, and we just had that energy there. And she came over and was working at Tookie Smith's down in the West Village, and Robert De Niro's missus, and Stevie Wonder came in, and she was the waitress, and I think one of his staff took a shine to her, and we ended up going to the bartender's ball, and Grace Jones was playing, and I saw Run DMC play live. I wasn't hanging out with them, man, but I saw them. It was just an amazing time, just for energy, and again, my drinking got in the way, but I was to and fro for a few years there and I remember buying a Wu-Tang Clan first press, like a cassette tape of one of their recordings, because they were recording that down the road or something at a stall just across from Rivington Street. Well, I was at Rivington Street. It was fucking awesome. And we were playing that and there was a lot of heroin, because there was a girl from Westchester, a rich girl, and a junkie boyfriend, Marty, who was just like a nutty, brilliant bloke. And so we used to sit there drinking and partying and listen to the Wu-Tang's latest. And I used to listen to Tricky too. Shout for that, was brilliant at the time. Really good times. Got a bit of recording done, but it didn't pan out like the greatest unknown rock and roll star. Sort of he hijacked. It wasn't about that, but it was about that trip I had there a few times with them. I had some bad times in New York as well, but I love the place. I haven't been there for a long time, but obviously my son lives just outside. It's in Providence on Rhode Island.
At one point you were living with Shane MacGowan, and you like had was it a record label wanting to work with him or something?
Oh, no, a bit misunderstood that one. Yeah, that girl I had back then, very early 90s, with Sex Gods group, around that time, and Rose Rosemary O'Brien, beautiful Irish girl from Cork. She was friends with Victoria Clark. Shane's really good friends. So, yeah, the first time I met Shane, we went up to his place on Blackstock Road in Highbury, and I was quite nervous. I was like, Shane. And the door went, he must have been probably about 38, 40 or something. So I just clunked up the stairs. A big bloke appeared at the top of the stairs, and I stood, swayed for a bit, and was like sort of sick and fell over, and then clambered onto it. I'd never seen anything like it. I was like, and just then like could have settled himself and like stared at the television, and started drinking and smoking, and it looked like a good way to live, actually. But yeah, I spent a few weekends around there, especially when I saw him on the title. That was one when they came parading on the roads, and I saw a note there he scribbled once when he was sort of unable. I went on a few of their gigs, went backstage and knew Spider and the lads, and it was just Jerry Conlon was a really good friend. We had some amazing times then. It was really good times. And that was Lemon Torpedoes, Sex God's time, and so I always had my music going, and it was I thought the future was rosy, but it didn't. While these other groups, Blur became big, and that they were all signed up, and Suede were massive, and everyone. I ended up in. I didn't. I think Julian says, "Oh, there's that David Bowie song where the boat sailed out to sea and Peter was left standing on the shore." I'm like, "What do you fucking mean by that?" Elliot speaks for itself. So I ended up in Brighton, wandering lonely as a cloud along the shore, thinking I wanted to be a poet with no money, trying to sell poems on the seafront, man, starving, having brown sauce on toast in a cab, in this dreary little thing under a skylight. It was merciless, man. I went and lived in Glasgow. That was wicked. The pubs, cold.
Yes.
Good times, man. When you're young, wow.
Yeah.
Like 20 and that. What? Yeah, I was young, 21 to 20. Oh, nice.
And then, because there's a good quote. You say, you mentioned how you don't really believe in the rock stars at the time, and that you say, you want to bring back the real rock and roll stars. Is that how?
No, I don't like that one.
Oh, right.
Probably, okay. I used to get really drunk before I'd say any, or if he. And everything, I'm absolutely drunk, and he'd use things. I'm like, I look absolutely horrible there, and I'm talking shit. There's another Hillary Clinton thing, absolute shit. But not very well then. You know what I mean? I'm not very well. Difficult. I think when I was drunk, I wasn't very well at that time. So, yeah, I don't know. I think I was flailing around at that time. I hadn't really got, but I was right up until I did get a grip on it. I like that thing going back to David Bowie. Says, "I don't know what I'm doing till I've done it." So that's my get out valve. Next.
At what point? What point did you write For Lovers, out of interest?
I remember it clear as day. Okay. 1998, Julian had a flat apartment in Highgate, up by Suicide Bridge, just off of that road. And we used to record on a little 4-track Tascam. It was an old one. His mum had, and it was tape. And he just got a new one. Because we were starting to get together more. But so he had this new 8-track waiting. But we'd done a good recording on this 4-track. It sounded jazzy and good. So I was living in Ealing, staying with my girlfriend, Romana, and we just used to fight. Just constant drinking, red wine, and fight, and big. If Ramon and Pete turned up, it'd be like everyone started to weep and moan. It's like, oh no, end of evening. There'd be the domestics and the police and heavy relationship shit, and broke all the time and full of. Turned up at Julian, still trying. Turned up at Julian one morning, walked in, and I was really, really hungover. He said he remembers. I remember the time, but I see it a bit differently. He said, "No, I had the song." So I played down on the guitar. He went to the keyboard and he came up that da da da, and that was it. And we ran through it, and he said, and I remember it was 10 minutes later. It was done from start to finish, and we transferred it to the 8-track, and we finished it in about an hour, I think. And immediately, I said, "That's something." My God, I was a bit shocked, and I was like, "We've got something." We had this manager called Alex in Hampstead. I said, "Called Alex." Alex came down, and he said, "What?" He said, "That." He said, "That's shit." He said, "What about that other stuff?" He was working on some sort of dance, house music. I was like, "No." And years later, he claimed to have written it. It's really funny. But yeah, it was hungover. 5 minutes, one autumn day in 1998, about Ramona and I and our thing. It's been nice that people get in touch and like it, and I get sent, or I see occasional videos of blokes falling out of pubs singing it.
Yeah, my mate walked down the aisle to it, actually.
Oh yeah, I had a couple of those. So it's always really welcome, I like, but I of course I like the song. It's personal. It's for what happened to it. It was great.
And then I'm all right in thinking. I just read this in Pete Doherty's book that you weren't particularly enamoured with him when you first met him.
Affectionately, he was so funny. He's a real charmer and very funny. So that immediately came across. I was living with two girls just opposite Filthy McNasty's in Islington, knocking about, and yeah, it was all that he was already on. He turned up and he didn't really leave, and we had a lot of fun. It was so funny, that was the main thing. And drinking and proceedings would get on early in the day around there. There was a little village around there. It was congregating around that pub, and that's where it began. They weren't even called the Libertines then, or something else.
Yeah, were you into their music then? Did you see his talent early on, or not really?
One song I liked, the first album. I just have to say it's a great work of art. It's an amazing piece of music that Mick Jones pulled out there, and the guys. And I was at the studio a few times when they were making it, and there's a couple of songs I really like on there. And you sort of become, with the lifestyle I was involved in at the time, you sort of become engulfed in survival and other things, and you don't have a lot of time to appreciate anything other than what's immediately needed to be done in front of you. So a lot of the music you went on to make, of course I heard it at gigs, but I never would sit down and listen to the albums. I have since, and I've written quite a few of the songs on there for starters. So, but no, I still haven't listened to them though. Damn. I shouldn't I?
What about the song? What about the song Wolfman? Did you write the lyrics to that, or was that a Pete thing?
No, someone showed me a video. He'd come out. I used to, sing it on those days. We sit in the pub, but I wrote a song called. At first, it was called Godzilla. It was with Shoshone, and it's got this electronic sort of thing to it. But then it became pop art, and then I ended up using the arrangement from that and made this sort of spoken bit called Wolfman. And yeah, I wrote all of it, and he loved it, and he used it when him and Carl was having an interview on MTV or something.
Tell us about the Wolfman. This is one of your mates who tends to join you on stage every now and then when the opportunity arises. A few words for the people out there, just in anticipation of who the Wolfman is and will become over the course of the next 12 months.
Listen hard and close. Why are you morose? Did you take an overdose to the winner's post? Can you make the chase? Internet database, web page, you're out of your face. I'm in and out of space, Wolfman. It's giving me the hump, man. You're coming like a swamp, man. But I jump when you say jump, man. The spit's on you, so what you gonna do? You got a junkie for a mother, your dad drank special brew. From the estate you had enough on your plate. There was a gang in the shadows. I made the getaway, Wolfman. It's giving me the hump, man. It's coming like a swamp, man. I jump when you say jump, man. Jump, 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 jump. Get into the vibe, slamming a Mega Drive. Arcade fire day night. I pulled my sent him to Kingdom Come. Alley cat, got your tongue schizoid. His fame on the run. He's wanted by the sun, Wolfman. Oh!
And people liked it. Then I think he made a recording. I've got a few recordings of it. I don't know. I've lost touch. I know. Gemma sent me a recording of it, or I saw a recording I did with. Is it the Suffragettes? Yeah.
A hair band, right? Okay.
Huh?
There's a hair band, yeah.
Yeah.
Gemma's band. Oh, cool.
But yeah. Is it on an album? It's not, is it?
No, in his book he says he went down to record it when they were recording for the first album, but it didn't make the first album.
Right. Yeah.
But I really like it. I loved it when they used to play it, when Baby Shambles used to play it early on. And I was watching a video when you went on stage to sing it.
Yeah.
There's a real good energy to it. I like it, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Going back to For Lovers, that actually took ages to come out. Like, what made you want to get Pete involved with that song?
I was broke. I was a heroin addict. With a history of like disappointment. So in the music for myself, I'd sort of gone around and given up. Kind of. I was looking for, a way into the music business. I wanted in. That's to be frank, and I had a lot of songs that I've written, and demos that I'd listened to with friends and girlfriends, or like I played the occasional gig, and I think it was Ramona who said to Pete, you want to check out my old man's music? Like, he's pretty good. And a lot of Pete's girl fans started listening to some of my music, and I think they said to me, you need to hear this track For Lovers. And I think when he heard it, I don't know whether he said I want to do it or whether they persuaded him or I asked him. I can't remember. It became the thing to do because people liked it around in that little bubble of Amwell Road, which is ironic for anyone living there at the time.
And did he write one of the? Did he change one of the verses or add a verse or something?
I have to say, I agreed to that because Jeff Travis was really not the biggest fan of mine and quite rude to me and wouldn't refuse to cooperate. Sam would put the stop on the top of the pops if I appeared, and he hated me to be straight. He just I didn't really care, but as you say, it took a while to get recorded or come out. There was chaos. I became quite anxious to get this. I needed money to support my lifestyle, and so I agreed to most of what was going on, and even that went on right through the recording. And it was like, yeah, change, yeah. So what? Change the verse. The original is, I know there's another place, different lives, other ways. Take me out of this small town. For the lovers we have found, and this is for lovers. I don't like the reference to prison. I'd never been in prison then, so it was something I think he'd experienced briefly by then. It sounds like it anyway. Yeah, but it's nothing to do with me.
Fair, yeah. And who is Jake Fior? Is that how you pronounce it? What was his involvement with it?
Jake.
Yeah.
They kind of blackmailed. What was it? Bled money out of him to support my lifestyle. This was going on. It was acrimonious from the start, really, and he wasn't really cool. I think Anna Pete, so I think he fancied him probably. And strange ideas, that fella. But that was it. I'm about a poem about it. The manager, the Hofmeister Bearstrut, the pleat with hat. Something, the rhetorical posh former aging, balding, of fat. I've bumped into him once since, but he's got it out on one of the platforms that it's his song, and I had a chat with my publishers about it. It doesn't really matter. I'm just a little person. It does matter to me, actually. It does bother me especially last year when I got really sober and clean. I had a little hissy fit about it for a month, and I know the truth in my heart. That's what matters. And if I'd like to make some music in the future, and I'm a believer in if you make your future a little more how you want it or need it, then the past takes on a different meaning because you've always been getting there. But if you stay in the same place, you won't. So I don't know. I'm but yeah, it plays that that it's still part, and it is still part of. I don't think I realised it at the time because I thought I'd have a far greater reaching career or be more involved, and I wasn't. So my thing has become sort of focused on the little things. Or, something like.
I mean, I read that he bought most of the rights to the song in a pub, or is that just a myth?
It's I've got some sort of. That's a myth. I was of Jim Morrison schooled. And at the time, I was so convinced and happy that I thought it was going to go on, and my dreams are going to come true. And you know, because of the way it was structured, that I didn't have a proper record deal, the band weren't getting paid, no one was getting paid, and to keep the unit together and to progress, I decided that I'd promise everyone a little percentage, and I was over generous with everything. I wouldn't, you know, I didn't know it was going to be nominated for an Ivor Novello Award at the time, and maybe it wouldn't have if I didn't do it that way. But it's when you listen to the original recording, it's 100% my song, and I know that. So, what happens with it in the future, I don't know. It depends on what I do.
Mm-hmm. So what did he actually do? Did he produce the song, or was he involved in any... I don't understand what is...
He got involved. My problem was not getting involved enough. I was too busy partying, and I didn't invite my mates down and getting out of hand, and yeah.
And, you know, and Pete Doherty says he kind of he was good at getting things out of you, but was it kind of a relationship where you got things out of each other in terms of being creative, do you think?
In my mind, that wasn't really. I'm half a generation or something older than him, and I'd been through what he was going through once in a way already. I creatively, I didn't sing any of his songs or use any of Pete's lyrics. But being in the wave and being on the scene that he was creating had its, you know, virtues, which was sort of, you know, we were all together. We were together sort of every day. It was an insane time, and obviously you were preoccupied with that lifestyle as well. It took up a lot of the time. So you go deep, and you know, like deep to me and him being sentenced and carted off to Pentonville together. You know, it went all the way. I don't know. See how it is in the future. I've noticed he's been getting out there a bit recently. Maybe I don't know whether he's making any new music. I haven't seen him for a long time.
Yeah, but is it good to see the likes of him and Patrick getting more healthy, kind of thing?
Definitely. If they're happy. Pete's always been pretty outwardly happy. He's good at that. He's pretty robust. If he did invite me to his wedding, but I was really unwell and couldn't make it. So. But for a long time, it was I couldn't be with. Or it was people would actually prevent it. You know, we couldn't really spend time together because it would just be trouble. And same with Mick and Pat. If we got together, we were all as bad as each other. You know. And it would be trouble. Well, ultimately ending up in the cells, and some more cost and then Pete's and Pat, and it was always cost to their record company. They should have been at work or whatever, you know. And I think I got the blame for some of that. I don't know. It's all a bit. You know, I don't know whether. It was what was that too? Yeah, thinking back, I don't know if I've forgotten what the question was.
So I guess you mentioned Jeff Travis not being your biggest fan, and maybe the likes of Carl. Maybe do you feel it was fair that they would try and keep you out of things, or not really?
I don't think. Tried to keep me out of things. I love Carl. He's pretty shrewd, but he's done a couple of really. He did a couple of really nice. Made a couple of. It showed he's a true gent, Carl. That's what I'll say. I really have a lot of time for him. Yeah, I think he got a bad rap a lot of the time, and Pete got the lion's share of. And you know, we were at loggerheads somewhere along the way, misunderstood, but he always really showed his true metal. He's a pretty cool guy.
Yeah.
And Pete too.
Yeah, just one more on For Lovers, like when Pete becomes like the face of that song and with the video Top of the Pops, are you just happy that the song's getting out there, or did you have mixed feelings about that or anything?
When having that sort of lifestyle, I'd mould the truth in a way that I could absorb it or just digest it. It's the way it was. I had to have my drugs. There was no way I could be put out of my. And the thing with Jeff Travis had got sort of nasty, and of course he was he could threaten me with all sorts. And I was just, I didn't have that sort of clout. What was I going with this? The Top of the Pops thing. I remember the night how I consoled myself. Let's say that stuff will console you that will comfort you to hell. And I spent it with a lot of friends, partying, and it was a great moment. Though. I thought they looked really good, and I was glad to see that's the way I put it. But yeah, inside it, I reckon that hurt, and has done since. I don't know. I can't tell. God.
Were you just having a good time playing with your band at the time as well, with the side effects?
Yeah, I miss that a lot. And that's something I, used to like doing. Practicing and having that electricity behind you and being a performer, because I can do it, and not bad at it. For anyone that's been to a Wolfman gig, we didn't get very popular. But I used to really like it. We played at Sundance. That was a real beautiful time, and in LA, and it was just wonderful. And yeah, I miss that. They were all at Glastonbury together a while back, and said, "Oh, I wonder if Pete will get back together." But it's always been my lifestyle getting in the way. To be, and health as I got a little older, but I'm currently well.
Good stuff. And there was mention of a woman called Jill in the Pink House I was reading, where it became a bit of a refuge. It sounded like for you and Pete Doherty. Like, how important were fans like that who would look out for you, I guess?
At the time, it was like a blessing. Oh God! Oh, can you lend some money? Oh, and you can take us there. Oh God! Oh, thank God! Yeah. Oh, you got somewhere to live. Oh well. Oh fuck! Thank God. Oh, you got a bottle of. Oh, thank. Oh. I'll get some rehab, please. Oh, thank you. Yeah, wonderful. Love you, Jill. Love you, girl. And all the rest of you that fucking carted us from the back of nowhere to get us to hospital or to the gig.
Yeah, like those early Baby Shambles times, like, were they quite exciting really to be around? Like, seeing you say, Pete Doherty had the chance to start a band again, which is always the most exciting bit.
He was a pretty exciting fella. He was great fun. We had a real laugh. It was exciting, and you needed a strong stomach for it a lot of the time, and a lot of energy and staying power. And there were a lot of bad times. And yeah, it was fun.
Nice one, yeah. And I was reading, there's a bit where I think you all go to see the Strokes, like you, Pete and Alan Wass, and he says that you and Alan weren't particularly taken with the Strokes for some reason.
I just wanted to. I had an argument with Jeff Travis backstage, and I was clucking, and I wanted to get away, and Pete was trying to introduce me to the Strokes, and I was like, I was sweating. I just had to get out of there. That's where that probably comes from. And Alan, I don't know, God bless him. Yeah, but that was up at Alexandra Palace.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I remember that. And then, yeah, like people like Alan Wass and like Dot Allison, who were like part of that crowd, like how did he get on with them? Like how talented were they, really?
Dot, I never had a lot to do with. I only met her a few times, I think. And Pat, Alan, he was just such a wow, the character. But as for me, I wasn't very good at it. I was sort of cemented to the spot in my den in wherever it was, Camden or Hackney or Shepherd's Bush. I wouldn't go out, and it used to drive them mad. They'd be acting, and Pete would often like try and he'd physically come and even get me out, try and get me into the car. You're cutting? No, I don't want to go out to you. I'm not. I wouldn't be taking away from my spot because I was tired, man. Or but yeah, they were quite talented chaps all in their own field. I was too preoccupied with surviving and coping with that lifestyle. I sometimes forget about it.
Did you have like record deals on the table at that point then, or did you have a record deal, or how was it working?
There was some on the table. I was told so, and was taken to meet people. For one reason or another, it never came off. Really culminating in one that said, I got a phone call saying, yeah, it's all signed under, and it went wrong, and yeah, I was pretty heartbroken by that. Not only by the people involved as well. It's again another time where you go away, or you pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and start all over again. Something like that.
Yeah, well, I had Gordon Raphael on not so long ago, and he said you ended up living with him at one point. Is that right?
Probably. I remember going for dinner with Gordon at some posh Chinese place in Camden with Carol, and Carol was his date for the night, and Romana. Yeah, so I met him. He'd just been working with the Strokes, and and he hadn't met. I think he was going to meet Pete and maybe work with them. I think he did some demos with them.
Yeah, he was saying for some reason that they chose not to work with him. He said he didn't know why.
Yeah, I probably moved. If he any available room at that time, I would have moved into it. A lot of that sort of it's chaotic behaviour. It was still really heavy drinking, and circumstances were often made that way by, you know, the amount of drinking going on. So you were constantly thrown out of your flat or in the cells for a few, or staying at so and so. So yeah, probably ended up recording. Well, I can't remember exactly that.
Yeah, I wanted to ask as well, like when Pete Doherty starts going through all the tabloid stuff, was that a weird thing to see as a friend?
It was. I think someone was complaining to me the other day about the way, you know, what's happened with Pete and themselves, and I was like, stop it. I said, look, you know, it was attractive. Fame and any sort of fame and success is attractive and magnetic, and it drew everyone in, and yeah, I enjoyed it. I was never one to try and get in a picture or join in very much. Again, I was cemented to the spot, but I'd have people used to come around to Wolf Den. Like, you'd see these like people turning up. You'd be like, and they'd come in and go, look around, just like, you know, good falls, graffitied up, just like a total fucking den. And they come in on Landmark Heights, on the basement of Landmark split level flat. It was classic, man. What a place. Jill, God bless you. She's trying to keep that. And Pete installed like 24 cats. It was insanity. Like, I came back short tour, and mate, it took a while to get rid of those cats. But I think their ancestors are still living on in Pete's bizarre family, you know. The Queen, probably not. Probably infested with cat fans from now on.
Cat pod. Did you ever go to that mad mansion he had in the countryside? Is it Marlborough?
Yeah.
That looked like a pretty wacky place.
It's nice to get away from it all. Wow. Just touching how I spent some time with Robin down there, and yeah, when things got a bit heavy for me in town, I could escape to there, and you're stranded, and God bless fans again, they'd travel all the way down, come pick you up, or it was that sort of family thing, but it was, man, it was such a tip. He destroyed it. Utterly destroyed it. Like walking in, it was you know, a job for Holmes under the hammer, I think.
See Dion Dublin in there, yeah.
I think the neighbours lived like 4 miles away, like Gillian Anderson's. They still complained.
Gillian Anderson?
I don't think we paid the rent once.
And yeah, I just wanted to talk about, I came to watch you play at the Albert Hall with Pete Doherty, and just wondered how big a moment that was for you.
It was supposed to be a big moment, but it didn't really go right, and yeah, I didn't connect, but it was unfair of that woman to make that comment. It's still, I was there on that stage and proud to be there. I'm proud that I did it, and you know, yeah, but man, I was wet. I was out of my mind, like so far gone in, you know. It was a job to get me there. I remember dashing in at the last moment. Jill was trying to, we couldn't park, or I was late. But I do remember it not as I'd like. It wasn't. It was just. Yeah, proud to have been there. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah, fair enough. I enjoyed it anyway. And yeah, just like I read in the book that there was going to be a For Lovers album at one point. What was that about?
I think that was a time, chaotic. General Santana time and God knows what else we had going on. Capers, people crusade driving around at night trying to get around from studio to studio, doing the Pied Piper bit, supposedly recording these songs. They never got made. I'm sort of glad they didn't in the end, because I still have them.
Okay, right. So some of those songs are going to be on your new recordings.
Yeah, because they had the effect. They had the sort of same effect when people didn't just listen to them. For those people, like, oh God. And if I'd have been in my right mind, this is my thing in life. What happens. Looking back, why I decided to release Napoleon is just pure. It's insanity, which you are when you're an alcoholic and a drug addict. I'm probably sounding not as if it makes sense in my head, but yeah, there's a lot of those songs, and and if they don't get recorded again, I don't care. They're on, some of them are on SoundCloud. We'll see.
Okay. Yes. I wanted to chat about just the songs you've been credited on and stuff, like, some of my favourites really, like the lyrics on Cyclops are brilliant. Were you involved in that?
I came up with Cyclops. He swears I didn't. But when Carl turned up one time with a patch on his eye, I called him Cyclops, and that's what the song's about.
Okay. Yes.
If you wanted to take that, and I don't know, I argued with him. I've had they're bizarre arguments because I don't really know what he's talking about. I haven't really heard the song. I couldn't recall it, but I should go back and listen to it. But yeah.
And then like ones like Umbila titled, always love that. How would songs like that come about? Just obviously from just playing music together, really.
I think it's Pete's songwriting technique, or a way he sometimes writes songs. Something is said, or he hears something that inspires him, and off he goes. And it can come from one line or a chunk of something that you have written, and you'll go off and do it, and then you find out later and get really annoyed.
Yeah, I
love you, mate. Go on, some more.
Just one that I really like as well. Broken Love Song. Yeah, I thought the chorus on that is great as well.
That's he added some lyrics. I think they might be about jail again, and they shouldn't be in there. But yeah, that's a 100% melody and words. Mine, and I would like to do my version of that song. I've got some nice recordings that other artists have sung that song, and we'll see.
And then I was looking at your Instagram and I was loving the Last Supper picture.
Yeah, isn't that funny? When I saw that, I was like, oh my God. I was really, I'm the crafty one, isn't it? I'm the pisshead at the side of the table. The character, aren't I the sort of a plotter or a schemer or something? I don't know.
Right.
I don't think that's quite right, but they all sort of look the same a bit. But no, yeah. Who did that?
Yeah, I don't know, actually. It's some interesting people in it.
Yeah.
Looks like Dominic Masters.
He's probably in there. Pat must be in there.
Yeah.
Some of the Bod's managers, and yeah, the James
My Lord, is it?
The Lord, yeah. Wow.
Has there been a high point, do you think?
The Ivor Novello Awards, which again I behaved badly at and didn't fully. I was so tanked, but I've got a fleeting, beautiful memory of that. It was sort of the end of a journey. I'm playing at Sundance is also, and the day I had with Pete at the HMV signing in Oxford Street, where Oxford Street was shut off when we took our tops off and all the girls signed our bodies in like a pen or a face everywhere, and then we got to dash around the store with trolleys and just launch everything and chuck all the records to the fan. It was made. It was, and then we played at the Café de Paris that evening. It was fucking awesome, man.
Yeah, like that song really kind of it captures that whole era for me, I think.
Which one?
For Lovers.
Yeah, thanks. And I think it does for a lot of us that were around at that time. We were a real tight-knit family, you know. It was really nice.
You mentioned prison. Like, I just wondered, like, I don't know how to phrase it really, but is it what you expect it to be, or how does it change you being in there? I don't know really.
I will elaborate on this one before you do it. It was a lot of fun having that cat and mouse thing with the police, and there was some they weren't bad, and it was funny most of the time. But you know, Pete was like, "Oh, you never get like, you'll never get him put in the. You haven't been to prison, and you always get away with it." So I'm like, no way. I think there was a couple of times when, again, we're nicked, and they've carted him off to the cells in cuffs, and I'm walking down the street laughing, like one particular in my dressing gown, and it just really always bugged him. I remember when he was in prison, I thought, oh, poor Pete, you know, how's he going to handle it? He's quite a lump, but I was like, how's he going to... And when he came out, I was like, so what's it like? And he said, oh, you do it, you'll be running the wing in a week. I was like, yeah, right. Look, and by the time it came up, when I got sentenced, I couldn't stand up in the dock, and I weighed about 80 pounds, 90 pounds, something like that. It was, and I was sort of fearing going off to prison, but so, you know, numbed that I couldn't really feel it. I kind into back, and I didn't know what to expect really, but we're both sitting there, and I saw, you know, Dios just going off to jail, and yeah, I didn't have much time to think about it, because when I arrived there, they took him off immediately because he's a celebrity. And you had to go into a little holding part where they would induct you into the prison. And when I walked in, the first guy I looked at, he was like, "Yo, Wolfe," and it was like my pal, one of my associates, and he would just got in that day, whether he had and he was like, "Yeah, come sit down, we got you," and I breezed it, man. It wasn't as bad as I thought. People were nice to me in prison. You got to keep a lookout for stuff, but. And people, because they all sort of like Pete, but they were onto him a bit, but they didn't get onto me as much. But they sort of respected me because I was famous. It was a delicate, fine line, but, you know, in a category B, the 23-hour lockup, I did 8 months of it. Pete got shipped to open after a month or something. But and Amy died while I was in there, and it was after all of that stuff. It was the time when I had to sort of take stock and get on with it, and I did. Again, didn't go exactly right when I came out, but I'm glad of the experience now. You know?
What is it like in terms of drugs in there? Like, is it rife in there or what?
Yeah, it's all available. Really expensive, and if you want to get in trouble, go down that line. But I didn't. The only thing I did in there it got so like full on. You got your methadone every morning, but there's psychos in there, man. You're on tense all the time, and you just want some Valley or anything, man. And But I remember, like, we were about 4 months into it, and I was trying to get on some Valium, nothing going. There's some crap stuff around, but and like weeds, like gold dust in there. But I managed to like coerce some weed off someone. It was 2 weeks ago, and I didn't have the money for it. I had to front it out a bit, but I got this bit. And the first smoke I had with my celly Ike, the first one we like hugged each other. Do you know what I mean? It was a moment of pure joy, of softness in a really harsh environment, and I laid down and I watched, and I put my feet up and I laid down. I was flicked on the TV and the Ninth Gate came on with Johnny Depp. I was like, oh yeah, man. Like, a little fucking dodgy, like 10-inch in the corner, but and Ike's fucking upstairs twitching and the cellar button in the bunk above. But you know, yeah, it was just that one moment really in prison. Drugs. Oh, and one day the chaps, they were really nice. It was like, yo, Wolfie, like from like, well, he goes, yeah, you like a drink, didn't you? And he was like pointing to this like horrible great tin of like what looked like frying oil, but someone had brewed up a whole load of hooch, and they gave it to me for nothing, man. And we had a little bit of a party myself, but bad hangover. But other than that, Retox when I came out, Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt. Start about prison, what can I say?
Yeah.
Wow.
Did you find yourself being more creative in there or not really?
No. I wrote some letters. Frustrated by what you can't get done on the outside. No, you're too busy watching your back.
Then you referenced this question earlier, but is there anything you would do differently about anything?
Yeah, I'd lay off the fillet of fish. I used to eat for that. Yeah, man, of course. But yet, you know, yeah, it's of course, it's a blunt answer, but it's one of those questions, isn't it? It is what it is.
Yeah.
I'm of that nature that whatever comes along, even when you're going wrong, as long as your compass is set right, you're never going to go completely off course. You can always find your way back somehow, and that's what I'm trying to do, man. And make it a sort of happier for want of a better word. So something more fulfilling musically, certainly, and get some words out there. Maybe there's some people out there who like it.
Yeah. I did put that question in about a Gallagher Brothers story or funny story, but we don't have to do that unless you've got one.
Would that be there are many funny stories between Pete and I. Like he's like a cross between Mr. Tickle and Mr. Bum. He's just hilarious. But there is a funny story when, you know, Mick Jagger called me on the mobile that I used for God knows what, but they said, yeah, Mick Jagger's going to call you. I'm like, what are you talking about? Sitting there with my like entourage. What do you mean? He's calling you about the novellos. He you know, he likes your song. I'm like, what? And everyone's like, nah, not going to happen. And didn't really take it seriously. You know, there's management calling, and half an hour later the phone went, and then like, hello. And he thought I was Peter Wolfe out of REO Speedwagon. He's like, yeah, if you win that award, can I present it to you? I said, I think you have me confused with someone else, Mr. Jack. Yeah.
That's fine. You should have just said yes, yeah.
Yeah, I should have. That's what I'd have done differently. I've gone on his yacht.
Excellent. Yeah, and just in terms of new music then, mate, like when can we expect to hear stuff, or where should we look for it?
Spring.
Okay.
If I get on, and yeah, spring, I'm gonna put something out, put out the feeders, and yeah, man, if I like it, nice. Thanks for talking to me, man.
No, it's been brilliant, mate. I really appreciate it. You say you've been recording it in Liverpool?
Yeah. Julian, he plays all instruments. He's pretty good at singing as well. But we're a bit of a team then. As I told you before, he's finished a master's degree in music production and recording, so he's right up on that. And so we're both in a pretty good place for the first time in a long, I think maybe 5 years, 4 or 5 years. And more than that, I'm just kind of excited. Yeah, I feel that spectre of that lifestyle is diminishing. At time heals all, and you just gain more perspective all the time. I certainly wouldn't, head back down that pathway again. And let love rule, man.
Well, I'm in the northwest, so if you do play any gigs up here, I'll get across.
And to think that would be something to play again. I'd love to do that. I think that would be on the cards if the recording goes well and happy. A couple of side effects got in touch with me the other day, but I was being grumpy. And like, oh, you're not speaking. I was like, yeah. How are you? I'm all right. Go away. Don't want to do anything. Yeah, no, it's time. Easy,